In any industry, young talents are vital to growth and evolution. The anime industry is no exception, and there have been many great young talents who have contributed to its development throughout this long history. In this video, I would like to focus on two young directors, Yoshiura Yasuhiro and Ishida Hiroyasu, who have proved themselves as some of the leading talents of the current generation. I have picked two works for each director, Ibu no Jikan and Sakasama no Patema for Yoshiura, Hinata no Aoshigure and Penguin Highway for Ishida. Ibu no Jikan, released in 2008, is Yoshiura's second major work as a director. Similar to his first directorial work, Pale Cocoon, Ibu no Jikan shows Yoshiura's style quite well. The first characteristic is the interaction between different entities. In Ibu no Jikan, humans and androids coexist. In this futuristic society, androids are almost indistinguishable from humans in their appearance, albeit with some restrictions. Androids have rings on their heads, representing their status, and they have to follow 3 laws of robotics, a concept created by Isaac Asimov. However, the protagonist and his friend discover a cafe called Ibu no Jikan, where these restrictions do not apply. Since androids are not restricted by outside rules, they can express their true feelings just like their human counterparts, and they are depicted almost the same as humans in their behaviors and desires. For example, in episode 3, we see a couple who are oblivious to the fact that their partner is an android. In episode 5, we see the protagonist's android playing the piano just like a human. By depicting interactions between humans and androids, Yoshiura emphasizes that reality is more ambiguous than people normally believe, and that everything depends on perspectives, which leads to its second characteristic. The second characteristic is the emphasis on perspectives. In Ibu no Jikan, most humans view androids as robots that follow their orders no matter the circumstances. On the other hand, in Cafe Ibu no Jikan, androids regard themselves as humans who are no different from real humans. They care for one another and follow their desires. Yoshiura shows these differing perspectives in such a way that it becomes impossible to define which viewpoint is right or wrong, which is what Yoshiura wants to depict in Ibu no Jikan. Also, by focusing on perspectives, Yoshiura strives for equal treatment and rights, which is his third characteristic. In Ibu no Jikan, most androids are discriminated against and treated as second-class citizens at best or mere tools at worst. However, the Cafe Ibu no Jikan treats humans and androids equally. As its signpost says, we do not discriminate between humans and androids. Through Ibu no Jikan, Yoshiura shows his desire to create an equal society, which is reflected and reproduced in his later works. Sakasama no Patema, released in 2013, is Yoshiura's fourth directorial work, and it shares many stylistic characteristics with Ibu no Jikan. First, Yoshiura focuses on the interaction between different entities. In Sakasama no Patema, a failed gravitation experiment has divided people into 2 groups. One group lives on the surface, continuously educated about the past wrongdoings and condemning the people responsible for the disaster. Another group lives underground with an inverted gravitational pull and fears the outside world. The story begins as Patema, a girl from the underground world, meets Eiji, a boy living on the surface. As Patema and Eiji learn more about the different worlds to which they belong, they realize that they share many similarities. By focusing on the interaction between Patema and Eiji, Yoshiura emphasizes that everything depends on perspectives, which leads to its second characteristic. Differing viewpoints are depicted quite directly throughout the film. In the early part of the movie, Patema is depicted as someone affected by the inverted gravitational pull. To Eiji, Patema seems quite peculiar as she stands upside down all the time, and the camera shows it as a fact. However, at the end of the movie, it is revealed that the group living underground is the normal one, and the group living on the surface is the one that is affected by the inverted gravitational pull. The camera slowly shifts its focus to Patema's group, who now stands normally on the ground. By doing so, Yoshiura shows that there is no absolute right or wrong. Everything depends on perspectives. Finally, just like in Even no Jikan, he focuses on the idea of equality. In Sakasama no Patema, two groups of people live in completely different worlds, one underground and one on the surface. These differences are accentuated by the gravitational pull, which separates them even further. Nevertheless, later in the film, it is revealed that they share many similarities. For example, Lagos, an adventurer from the underground, and Eiichi, Eiji's father, are both passionate about science and yearn for knowledge despite their differences. Also, Eiji's village condemns Patema's people as the sinners responsible for the disaster. However, at the end of the film, it is the Eiji's group that is affected by the inverted gravitational pull, which puts them in an equal position with Patema's group. Hinata no Aoshigure, released in 2013, is Ishida's first directorial work. He was only 25 when he directed this film, and the film shows his stylistic characteristics that were later refined in Penguin Highway. The first characteristic is innocence. Ishida focuses on children and their interaction with the world in his works. In Hinata no Aoshigure, the protagonist is a young elementary school boy named Hinata who has a crush on his schoolmate girl named Shigure. Later in the story, Hinata learns that Shigure is moving to a different place, and he falls in dismay. After he sees the picture he drew for Shigure, he decides to meet her one last time and rushes after her. This depiction of innocent love and breaking of the heart provides the audience with a sense of nostalgia for when they were young and had a similar experience. At the same time, it helps the young audience sympathize with Hinata as they are about the same age. The second characteristic is fantasy in a realistic setting. Ishida incorporates fantastical elements into a realistic environment in Hinata no Aoshigure. For instance, in the scene where Hinata rushes after Shigure, a large bird suddenly comes out of the drawing and gives him a ride. As the chase continues, the audience witnesses both fictitious and actual depictions of the chase. In reality, Hinata is just rushing after Shigure in the rain, but in fantasy, he is chasing her in quite a dramatic fashion. This blending of fantasy and reality helps create a dramatic and heartwarming experience, which I think is quite well done. The third characteristic is dynamic camera work and the use of bright colors. Throughout the film, Ishida moves the camera dynamically to create a sense of drama and action. We can see this in many scenes, such as Hinata running down the stairs at school, Hinata rushing out of school to chase Shigure, and the entirety to chase scene. In these scenes, animation filming techniques such as follow and follow pan are used to depict dynamic movements, and the colors used are vibrant and highly saturated. The dynamic camera work and bright colors remind the audience of Miyazaki and especially Hosoda's works. Penguin Highway, released in 2018, is Ishida's second directorial work. In Penguin Highway, Ishida's style is clearly visible and shows many of the stylistic characteristics that were present in his previous work. Similar to Hinata no Aoshigure, Ishida focuses on innocence. In Penguin Highway, the protagonist named Aoyama encounters a strange event where penguins roam around in town. To uncover this mysterious event, he goes on an adventure with his friend. Along the adventure, he meets a young woman who works as a nurse. As they have time together, Aoyama becomes aware of her as a woman and someone that he should protect. This series of events provide the audience with childlike joy and a nostalgic feeling like Hinata no Aoshigure. In addition, Ishida skillfully blends fantasy with reality. The story takes place in a realistic town, but the event happening there is nothing but ordinary. Coke cans become penguins, and a giant ball of water spawns monstrous animals that prey upon penguins. Also, in the later part of the movie, Aoyama and the young woman go on a journey inside the ball of water. The world inside the water is both fantastical and real, as real-life objects lying around on the otherworldly landscape. Unlike Oshii Mamoru, who blends fantasy and reality to create a mysterious and somewhat unsettling atmosphere, Ishida does so to create a pleasant atmosphere. This helps the audience enjoy the movie as a nostalgic trip and appeals to the younger crowd. Lastly, Ishida utilizes dynamic camera work and bright colors throughout the film. Like Hinata no Aoshigure, the camera moves dynamically to emphasize dramatic moments. For example, the scene where the young woman throws a can to save Aoyama's friend from being swallowed by a water plot demonstrates dynamic camera work. Also, in the scene where Aoyama and the young woman march into the ball of water alongside hundreds of penguins, the camera moves dynamically to emphasize the action. And the colors used in these scenes are bright and highly saturated. Yoshiura Yasuhiro and Ishida Hiroyasu have produced noteworthy works over the years. Yoshiura focuses on perspectives and equality, while Ishida emphasizes innocence and a blending of fantasy and reality. Thanks to young talents like them, we will be able to enjoy great anime in the future, which I am quite excited about. Thank you for watching.